What is up, everybody? How's it going? Hope everybody's doing well. Sorry for the little late delay there. Had to get everything set up. I switched over to StreamYard, so I'm getting used to. I'm just still getting used to everything. Let's switch back to full camera. There we go. There we go. That looks good. How's everybody doing? Hope you're doing well. Happy Hump Day, everybody. It's the middle of the week. It's time to talk some Oscars. So today we're going to be diving into our predictions. I'm going to give my picks for who I think will win each award, as well as who I'd want to win. Also, we're going to dive into snubs, which is probably where we're going to start with this. We're going to go into the snubs, each categories, and just overall. And I'm going to pose the question to you guys. What do you think is the biggest Oscar snub in the last 10 years? Don't want to go further back than that. Let's just stick with 10 years. What, in your opinion, is the biggest Oscar stub? So I see we have a few people in here already. Hey, Jaron, what's up? Scott Davis, thank you so much for stopping by. God, I love this so much better than what I was doing last week with my live stream because you can actually have the comments pop up on the screen and it shows the profile picture, it shows the name, everything like that. So it's cool. It's just a way to display everybody in here. Make sure to leave your comments down below. Make sure to like the stream if you haven't already. So we're going to talk about Oscars, obviously. We're going to give our picks and our predictions. And throughout the way, I obviously want you guys to give your input as well, because this show is nothing if you guys don't give your input. But also at the end of this, probably for the last 30 minutes of the stream, hopefully, if it's going good, which I'm sure it will be going good, we'll probably do a standard Q&A, ask me anything, where you guys can just open up the floodgates of questions and talk to me about whatever you want. Movies, life, food, music, history, politics. Please no politics. Please no politics. I see Sully Streams is in here. What's up, man? We'll get into your question in a second, or to your comment. Already dialed in on the answering my question. Like I said, if you're just now getting in, make sure to leave below your pick for the biggest Oscar snub in the last 10 years. Now, a couple orders of business. Business. That's right. I just said business. It's getting wacky tonight. It's getting wild. It's getting crazy. It's getting wacky because we're talking about the Oscars. This Sunday is the Oscars. Somebody's going to walk away with that big golden trophy. By the way, let me know if the audio sounds good, if the video quality is good. If at any point throughout the stream it starts to buffer because possibly my internet's rough, just let me know and I'll try to get it situated. But we're going to have a good time here. First order of business. Got to crack open some liquid courage. Tonight I've got the Ghost Swedish Fish energy drink. This has been like a recent obsession of mine. I didn't know this thing existed. Swedish Fish, I love them, except I hate to eat them because they get stuck in your teeth. But this is just a liquefied version. I think John Flickinger would say it's the nectar of the gods. So I got this because I'm going to need to get through with something. I'm going to need something to help me get through this. And let's just say I'm tired. It's been a long day. And also in these live streams, as you guys probably know, if you've been to a couple already, my voice can get pretty cracky, pretty shaky. Sound like I'm a prepubescent little boy. So this is going to help with that for sure. That's good. That is the spot. All right, next order of business. I want to give a shout out to Warner Brothers because today they sent me a copy of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom on 4K. Now, this is going to come out everywhere: Walmart, Amazon, Target, not Best Buy, March 12th. So next week, next Tuesday. This is actually a movie I haven't seen yet. I didn't go out to the theaters to check this one out. I missed it. But this serves as the end, the finale of the DCEU. So it feels weird to actually hold this in my hands. It feels like a relic almost. I haven't heard great things about this movie, but the first one is a cheesy good time, and I expect nothing less from this. So I'm excited to check this out. Make sure to go pick this up if you're interested. Like I said, it's going to be out next week. Thank you to Warner Brothers for sending that my way. Scott Davis says, Best Buy, boo. Yeah, that's a whole conversation we could have on another day. The whole Best Buy debacle, physical media. It's insane, man. Who's going to go to Best Buy now? What are we going to go to Best Buy now if we don't have physical media to pick up? That's the only reason we go. And then my other order of business is just a thing I wanted to mention real quick. After Dune Part 2, I've been on a high. It's like I sniffed up all of the sand, all of the spice in Arrakis. I snorted it like gigantic lines of coke. My video is probably going to get taken down because I said that. And I've been riding the biggest high, and because of that, I actually dove into the books. I'm currently reading Dune Messiah, and all I have to say is, wow, this book is incredible. If you're into books and you haven't read it, I would definitely check it out. It serves as a great, like, super interesting companion piece going from Dune Part 2 into this book because you see how things pick up, but it's also very clear the differences and the changes to the narrative that Denis made to kind of bring it to life, to visualize it better and make it more, I don't know, pleasing to a general audience. But there's also a lot of stuff that goes on in this book that just makes me wonder how in the world is he going to bring this to life in part 3? Assuming we get a part 3, the movie's already making a buttload of money, so I'm assuming it's going to happen, but it's probably going to be a few years. But nonetheless, I'm reading this book. I'm absolutely in love. If you haven't seen it yet, or if you haven't read this book yet, make sure to check it out. I'm not like a book guru. I just started reading this year, but this one, it's like I started and I couldn't put it down. That's always a good thing. So I think it's because when I was a kid, in school, you grow up, they give you reading lists and they assign you certain books to read. And because of that, it just felt like, I guess because I didn't read what I wanted to read, I thought I hated reading, but it turns out you just got to pick the stuff that you're interested in. And then it's quite a fun experience. It's very entertaining. And I'm all on the Dune train right now. Ain't no slowing down, baby. So yeah, just wanted to give those shout outs. Thank you to everybody who is in here already. But let's go ahead and get this conversation rolling. So, like I said, the first order of business, the first question that I pose to you guys is what is, in your opinion, the biggest snub in the last 10 years of the Oscars? That's best actor, actress, picture, any category. What do you think is the biggest snub? Sully Streams is in here, and he already dropped his answer. He says, 10-year anniversary of Gyllenhaal getting snubbed for Best Actor for Nightcrawler. That's my pick. You know what? That might be my pick too. I've got a few, but that one is high, high up there. I think by now, Jake Gyllenhaal should be an Oscar winner, and it should be realistically for this movie. The fact that he wasn't even nominated is just absolute blasphemy. I don't understand how you look at the performances that year and you don't make Gyllenhaal one of the guys you at least nominate. Same goes for Adam Sandler and Uncut Gems. There was outrage for that. I think that's very well deserved. There's been a lot of snubs in the best actor category over the past few years, over the past decade, especially. Um, yeah, Adam Sandler's one. I think recently this year is Zac Efron for the Iron Claw. Sorry about that. Honestly, Cillian Murphy is great. Paul Giamatti is great. We're going to get into my picks, my predictions for that category in a second. That's actually the first category we're going to be going over. But something about watching Zac Efron in that movie, it did everything you want a character in a film to do. He's very emotionally investing. He makes you both very empathetic for him. You care for him. You want to see him succeed. But then there's moments to where he absolutely rips your heart out. I think by far it was his best performance of his entire career. I don't know. High School Musical 3 is up there though. But in all seriousness, I think it was the best performance of his entire career. And he showed a lot of promise, a lot of skill that we have not previously seen from him. He just really ranged to a whole other level here. And the fact that nominated and that the Iron Claw didn't get any love, period. Now, can you blame that on the Academy? Partially. I think it's more a result of just terrible marketing for the Iron Claw in general. This movie came out at a time where it was, first off, it was released in a really bad time for a movie like this. For a low budget indie sports drama, they didn't pick a good time at all. What movies was it going up against? Let's see. I'm gonna look this up real quick because I want to make sure that I get this accurate. But I feel like it was going up against some pretty big heavy hitters. The Iron Claw Release date. Let's see. So it was released December 22nd, 2023. So already I know you had Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which we just talked about. You had Ferrari was around that time. What other movies were coming out around that time? December 22nd, 2023 movies. Yeah. Okay. So you had Migration, which is a big family animated film. You also had Wonka, which came out. Silent Night, which I don't think that was much of a competition uh going against Iron Claw, but Wonka is it could cross $1 billion. Wonka could cross $1 billion. Like that made a buttload of money. You've got all of these much bigger blockbusters competing against, like I said, a small budget indie sports drama. What are families going to go see more often, especially if there's anybody who knew the history behind the movie? I don't think anybody wants to go see that for a Christmas Day movie. Like you're going to walk out and being like, "Bah humbug! I want this day to be over. What did I just watch?" Because the movie is not. It's not a good time. It's not like a enjoyable experience. Now it's a great movie. I enjoyed watching it, but I got my heart ripped out at the same time. So I think the release date had a lot to play into it, but also it just didn't seem like the marketing was there for this movie. Now, there was a lot of the promotional videos on YouTube that came up on my feed, um, like Zac Efron playing with puppies, answering questions. You had a few with um, Jeremy Allen White as well, and just cast interviews and stuff like that. But there wasn't a ton of trailers. There wasn't a ton of just marketing in general. And it didn't really start up until closer to the release of the movie. So when I got sent the screener for the movie, I watched it immediately and I was blown away. It became one of my favorite movies of the year. And I thought for sure it was going to be an award sweep, but not award sweep, but it was going to get a lot of attention at the awards. But sadly, they didn't push it effectively enough. And so it resulted in one of the biggest snubs we've gotten in the past few years. So those are my picks. I'm sure I can think of a few more. I mean, La La Land not winning Best Picture in 2016 is a big one. There's quite a few other ones. Let's get into some of the more snubs from this year. First off, I know a big one. Godzilla minus one wasn't nominated for Best International Feature. Honestly, that would be my pick. If I had to pick a winner, it would have been that. That didn't even get nominated. That's a big one. Um, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse didn't get in for Best Picture. A lot of people are upset about that, which is understandable because when you look at the craftsmanship on display in that movie, how can you not? How can you not? Then you have the obvious. Margot Robbie got snubbed for Best Actress this year. Nyad got way too many nominations. Let's just say that. Greta Gerwig got snubbed from Best Director. The first time in her career, I think for both Little Women and Lady Bird, she got nominated. And for some reason for this, when she takes the turn from indie film to big budget studio movie, they snub her. And it really sucks. It really does. So there was quite a few, but overall, when we're looking at the Oscars this year, I feel like this is going to be one of the most predictable years we've had in quite a while. Looking through the categories, I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on who's going to win, except for a couple, except for a few that are still a toss up to this point. And the past few award shows have kind of like really thrown a wrench into things. And I want to get your opinion on that as we go along. But let's see. Let's address the chat here. Scott Davis says, LOL. I just bought the books 1 through 3 set today myself. Talking about Dune. That's awesome. I have that same set. It's a good one. It's a good one. I got it for like $16 too, which I think is a steal. Aritra Das says Oppenheimer sweep. Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna happen, baby. Nolan's gonna get some, he's gonna get some hardware. Nolan's gonna get some hardware. I'm excited. I feel like it's inevitable. And that's the thing, like I was talking about. This award season seems like it's a lot easier to predict than normal. And a big part of that is because half of the awards are probably going to go to Oppenheimer. So yeah, but I love to see it. Oppenheimer was my favorite movie of the year. It's cool that I feel like the past few years, my favorite movies and my favorite performances have not been the ones that have resonated with voters as much. So finally to have a year to where my favorite movie is the favorite to win all the awards, it's a pretty good feeling. I'm excited. And speaking of Dune earlier, it's crazy to think that there was a time to where Dune Part 2 was going to come out in 2023. I think the awards race would have been a completely different picture, completely different story, and a lot less predictable if you threw Dune Part 2 in there because it would have obviously gotten a ton of awards love. Um, Now, at this point, it looks like Dune Part 2, unless something else comes out that absolutely blows everybody away, Dune Part 2 already seems like a shoo-in for Best Picture and a lot of other nominations. So, yeah, Oppenheimer got away with it this year for sure because they would have had some stiff competition. Aritra Das says the last movie I saw in the theater in 2023 were both Japanese movies. They were Godzilla Minus One and Boy and the Heron. Both fantastic movies, and Japan killed it 2 weeks in a row. I agree with that. You had the Hayao Miyazaki animated movie, and arguably the best adaptation of Godzilla we've ever seen on the screen. I saw that movie a few weeks later than everybody else. I didn't get to see it until they re-released it in the minus color version. I was blown away, man. I was blown away. And the fact that this could potentially walk away with at least one Oscar is pretty exciting. We'll get into that in a minute. Looks like everybody's agreeing on Oppenheimer. But with that said, let's just go ahead and get into the categories. We're going to run through. I've got academy.com pulled up here. Or sorry, oscars.org. And we're going to get into every category. I'm going to give my prediction for who I think will win, as well as my pick for who I would like to win. And like I said, continue to leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments as well. Let's switch it up here. Here we go. All righty. So, first category, actor in a leading role. The nominees are Bradley Cooper in Maestro, Coleman Domingo in Rustin, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction. First off, I want to say that it's really cool that Jeffrey Wright got in here. I think he needs to lead a lot more movies. I loved his performance in American Fiction. American Fiction was, I think it finished in my top 15 of the year. So that was a solid nomination. Overall, I think all of the nominations are solid. There was a point to where I thought Bradley Cooper had a lot more skin in the game than I do now. But at this point, it's obviously between Paul Giamatti and Cillian Murphy. Now, to give my prediction, as much as it would be cool to see Paul Giamatti come away with it, I think it's a shoo-in that it's Cillian Murphy's award. I mean, he's pretty much swept the race at this point. This is his last speed hump, and I think realistically, he's got it in the bag. Cillian Murphy would also be my pick. One of the most subtle, subdued, yet super complex performances that we've gotten in the past decade, I would say. And I love the fact that audiences as well as critics are starting to pander more towards that subdued performance. You no longer have to be super outlandish and over the top or do something to contort your body or something like that to receive attention. It seems like this is the year of subtlety. Like there is a lot of performances, not only in this category, that were nominated for a performance that was quite minimalistic, quite subdued. They were doing a lot with the little. And Cillian Murphy's a great example of that. I think it's obvious he's going to walk away with it. That's the first award for Oppenheimer of the night. Then we go to actor in a supporting role. So the nominees are Sterling K. Brown for American Fiction, Robert De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling in Barbie, Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things. Let's keep it real. Robert Downey Jr., this is his award. Oppenheimer 2 for 2 at this point. At least that's how I see it playing out. Robert Downey Jr. would also be my pick, if I'm being honest. It's pretty cool that Mark Ruffalo got in there for Poor Things. I would have put definitely him or even Willem Dafoe in for that movie. I think both of them give stellar performances. You could also argue Rami Youssef from that movie, which is a more underrated performance in the movie, but I think his character and his performance serves the film just as much justice. But Mark Ruffalo is a good, strong choice here. It's awesome seeing Sterling K. Brown get some recognition in this category. He continues to prove that he is a great actor in Hollywood, and I love to see that he's continuing to rise among the ranks. But it's Robert Downey Jr.'s award. He's swept award season thus far. I don't see him slowing down. It's a no-brainer. I'm excited to see his speech. I'm I'm excited to see just how he reacts to it. Uh, it's been a treat watching him give his speeches every time he wins the same award, calling it like glorious praise for a boring performance and just being very like self-aware and just very nonchalant about the whole thing. It's cool to see. Robert Downey Jr. has this in the bag. This is about as easy as Brad Pitt for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood back in 2019. It's, yeah, I'd say it's guaranteed. Let's see here. Movie Dean, what's up, man? Thank you so much for joining. He says, hey, Jaden, I think you meant Jaren. Loving the streams. I think Downey has it on lock. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. It's Downey. It's Downey. It's Downey. Love to see it. Iron Man taking home the gold. All right. But, anyways, let's move on to the next category, which is actress in a leading role. Now, in my opinion, this has got to be the hardest choice. This has got to be the one that is really a toss up for me. I'm still to this point not certain who I would go with. So at this point, it's just a gut instinct. I'm gonna have to go with how I'm feeling in the moment. I could feel differently by tomorrow. For the longest time, it seemed like it was a clear path for Emma Stone, but then Lily Gladstone started to pick up a little steam. She started to get a little more recognition, and all of a sudden, it seemed like tables had turned. And currently, I think Gladstone is actually the favorite to win. That being said, I think Emma Stone has it in the bag. The Academy loves her already. The performance is so outlandish, so over the top, so ridiculous in so many regards, but very endearing and sweet, but also like gross at the same time. Poor Things, if you guys haven't watched that movie, it was one of my favorites. It was in my top 5 of the year, but it's a messed up movie. It's messed up. It's weird. It's wacky, but it somehow has a good heart to it, but it's also very sexual and just it's an experience to say the least. Like I said, I could change my mind on this category tomorrow, but as of right now, I'm going to go with Emma Stone, even though I think both her and Gladstone are equally as deserving for this role. They could like surprise everybody and give it to somebody like Sandra Huller, which I know film Twitter would be excited about. It was a great thing seeing her get the nomination in the first place, but as of right now, I have to go with my gut, or else I'm going to be sitting here all night thinking about just going back and forth. Gladstone, Stone, Gladstone, Stone. I'm just going to settle with Emma Stone for now. Let's see. Probably Emma Stone for Poor Things. I haven't seen the film yet, but I heard she was phenomenal in it. Yeah, I would agree. I think she is. The phenomenal is a good word to use. It's a very over the top performance. She literally has to put her entire body on the line the entire way through. It's insane. It's a daunting task, commendable, but insane. Lily Gladstone stole the show in Killers of the Flower Moon. She was my favorite part. Oh, for sure. Like I said, this is the year of subdued performances, and I think for the most part, she really commanded your attention with just expressions and body language. She didn't have to shout, she didn't have to act overly animated. She just kind of produced that presence that was so fitting for the movie and the story that they were telling, and all of the impact of the downfall of it all you felt through her character. It was almost like at times you were seeing the story through her eyes. You were feeling her pain, and she did a phenomenal job. I would totally agree with that. Like I said, I feel like right now I have to go with Emma Stone. That is just my gut feeling. But if Gladstone walked away with this, that would be a huge win. I would have no problem with that. But anyways, let's get into the next category. Actress in a supporting role. So we've got Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple, America Ferrera, Barbie. That was a surprise nomination. Jodie Foster for Nyad. Uh, Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. Again, I think the prediction and my pick line up here. I got to go with Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. She is the emotional heartbeat of that movie. And I think a lot of the moments that really pull at your heartstrings and make you feel something, make you really get emotional and get invested in the story and the characters on the screen are because of her character. She's pulling a lot of weight here, and you feel a lot of empathy for see her do well. And so I feel like, I mean, she's been there was a point to where everybody thought that it might be Danielle Brooks. Now I think it's obvious. I don't think there's any question. Divide Joy Randolph, she's the favorite. She's the one who's going to win, and she's definitely the one I would pick. Very deserving. Let's see. Lone Wolf. Yo. What's up, man? I know who you are. This is a buddy of mine from work. What's up, Travis? Thank you so much for joining. I'm gonna give you a hard time if you don't leave me a like. If you don't leave me a like on this video, I'm gonna, I don't know, spit in your lunch tomorrow. What's up, man? Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. But anyways, let's get back into it. Then we've got animated feature. So this is potentially a race. There's potentially a fight here between two movies in particular. So overall, the nominees are The Boy and the Heron from Hayao Miyazaki, Elemental, Nimona, Robot Dreams, which was a very, very pleasant surprise. If you guys haven't seen that movie, it's great. It's a very beautifully animated movie from Neon that is first camera cutout of the night. Great. We're off to a good start. If we do that 2 more times, that means this was a good stream. But Robot Dreams, it's got no dialogue in it. It's just visual storytelling, and I think it was done extremely well. A movie that not enough people talk about because not enough people have seen it, but definitely one that I was surprised to see get that nomination. And of course, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Now, my pick would have to be Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. At this point, I think the winner will be Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. It was not nominated for Best Picture, so I feel like it's gotta win something. It was snubbed for Best Picture. It was snubbed for Best Original Score. I think that should have definitely gotten a nomination. Daniel Pemberton's Across the Spider-Verse score was one of my favorite compositions of the entire year. So I feel like it has to win this. It has to. The only other one I could see winning is The Boy and the Heron, and that's because this was Hayao Miyazaki's final film. So it could potentially be a situation where they want to give Miyazaki his flowers, send him out on a high note, because I know there might not be another opportunity to recognize him in this way ever again. But ultimately, you've got to give the film that's most deserving the award. And I think, without a doubt, it is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. When it comes to the storytelling, both visual and narratively, all of the layers of the animation, all of the countless hours that went into bringing this world to life, the multiple realities, the multiple storylines, everything coming together. Like I said, the score, one of my favorites of the year, the direction, top tier for an animated movie. And they ultimately crafted one of the best Spider-Man and comic book films in general, one of the best animated movies ever made. It's so visually striking, so engaging that you're watching that and you constantly just think, what is going on? What am I witnessing? This is breathtaking. This is magical. So if they don't give Across the Spider-Verse, if they don't give it this award, I am going to scream. if I'm recording my reaction, which I might, you might see some tears shed. The stream or the recording might end abruptly because I might break my screen. I might fit if this doesn't win. It's got to. It has to, right? It has to. What do you guys think about this one? Aritra Das says Across the Spider-Verse, I like you, my friend. That is a good pick. Zane Winder's in here. What's up, man? Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. Network 98, Jared, my homie. You're my homie, Network 98. Appreciate you being in here. Suzume was somewhat snubbed, but it's not as big of a snub as Your Name, which is the best animated film of 2016 to me. I've not seen Your Name or Suzume, but I know that there are a lot of people that have the same opinion as you. I honestly, I think there's a lot of animated movies that possibly could have slid in over Nimona for this category. That is the movie that out of all of these kind of feels like the odd one out. It's a Netflix movie that dropped, but nobody really talked about it. Didn't seem like anybody was super crazy about it. It didn't do anything like super breathtaking. Suzume, I haven't seen the movie, but it looks visually stunning. And I've heard, like, obviously, when it comes to Japanese animated films, it, they're top tier at telling stories. Like, that's not just animated films. That's really all the movies that they make across the board. But they're just on a whole other level. And I love the style of animation. If that would have gotten nominated, really over Nimona or even Elemental, I would have been fine with that. I would have understood. Movie Dean says, I think it's Boy and the Heron, but I'd want to cross the Spider-Verse. The greens and reds as Miles swings through the city are some of the most beautiful images I saw all last year. Time to take another sip of my Swedish fish because my throat is getting fried. I can't even speak anymore. What is it like that scene in Billy Madison? Today, Junior. That hits the spot, I'm telling you. I agree, man. I mean, you can take a snapshot of any part of that movie and you can hang it in a museum. I would hang that up in my bedroom wall. It's breathtaking. But that's interesting. You think it's the Boy and the Heron. That's what I'm saying. Like, overall, I think it's likely going to be Across the Spider-Verse. That's who I want to win, but there is a discussion to be had here. There is a little bit of competition, and I think the competition is definitely between those two films. So, ultimately, I'm going to be very surprised to see or excited to see who pulls away with this one. But I'm serious. If anybody else wins other than Across the Spider-Verse, I will. A part of me will die inside. That's for sure. Zane Winder says, watch Elemental win. If it does, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'll do. I'll stop doing anything. I just won't exist anymore. That would be shocking. Let's move on. I'm getting too sad. Getting too sad. So yeah, that's my pick for animated feature. Let's go on to cinematography. Nominees El Conde, however you say that, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. This is an interesting category. I could actually see this going a few different directions. This is another one I'm just going to have to go with my gut. And let me know what you guys think about this category. Give me your input here. When it comes to the first one, El Conde, or however you say that movie, I don't think that one's going to win. I haven't heard really any talk about that at all. So if it won, that'd be a major shocker. Killers of the Flower Moon has a chance, but I don't think it's a very strong one. I think it's going to be between Maestro, Oppenheimer, or Poor Things. Going with my gut here. You know what? I think Oppenheimer is going to get so many other awards tonight. Not tonight. The Oscars are Sunday. I am tripping. I think Oppenheimer is gonna get so many other awards on Sunday that they might just give it to Robbie Ryan for Poor Things here. And you know what? That's my pick too. You look at Poor Things, it is one of the most visually striking movies of the entire year. The colors, the framing, everything is dreamlike. It feels like you're in a trance. Every shot looks like a painting. I haven't seen a film, a live action film, look as beautiful as this movie in years. So, without a doubt, that's going to be my pick. Now, obviously, Oppenheimer carrying the big task of like framing a massive explosion and all of this just destruction on screen. Wide fields, wide shots. There's the overlaying imagery of the nuclear atoms forming on screen. There's so much going on here. But I got to go with my gut, man. I think it's Poor Things. I think Poor Things has this in the bag, and that's my pick to win. What do you guys think? Poor Things. Poor Things. I think we all agree on Poor Things. Jaron quits YouTube, nominated for Best Film of 2024. The brave story of Jaron after he quits YouTube because the Oscar voters picked Elemental over Across the Spider-Verse. Coming to a theater, new year. Okay, let's be honest. I'll just have a Vimeo link. It'll just be via Vimeo link. I'll send it to you through email or maybe a postcard. I don't have the budget for that, man. I don't have any studios backing me. We could start a Kickstarter. Fundraiser, get this movie off the ground. It could be special. It could be special. I'm just hoping that it doesn't happen because if it doesn't happen, that means Across the Spider-Verse 1. Popcorn's done. Back to showing my wife Oppenheimer before the Oscars. Have a good night, Jaron. Big fan of what you've been doing lately. Thank you so much, Dean. I really appreciate it. Have fun with that, man. I hope your wife loves the movie. It's a movie that's just fun to show people. I showed my mom a couple weeks ago, and she was not as impressed as I was, but she still liked it. But anyways, yeah, thank you so much for stopping by, man. I really appreciate it. See you next time, my friend. Okay. Poor Things for cinematography. That's in the bag. Next up, we have costume design. I don't have much of a input here. This is not really my thing, but costume design is kind of like production design in the fact that what crafts the experience the best, what brings the story and these characters to life in the most visually pleasing way. So the nominees are Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things. I don't think it's Oppenheimer just because it's nothing crazy. Like there's some guys in military outfits and there's some guys in like blazers. So nothing too crazy there. Napoleon has a shot here. It's a war epic at a massive scale. Killers of the Flower Moon, don't really see it. Again, it's a period piece. Now you could say that the cultural wear of the Osage Nation, you could give some credit there, but it's also going up against Barbie and Poor Things. For this, I would have to say Barbie. I would have to go with Barbie. I think Barbie is going to win and will win. That means the same thing. I meant to say Barbie is going to win, and it is my pick to win. I am doing great. These live streams, I am such a good host. I do such a great job, don't I? No mistakes. I never stumble over my words. I make 100% of sense 100% of the time. Today also must be opposite day. But anyways, Barbie is going to win, and it is my pick to win. I mean, they brought Barbie Dreamland to life in such a vivid way. It pops off the screen in large due to the production design, but going hand in hand with that is the costumes. It really felt like the toys were brought to life. There's a lot of detail, a lot of time went into these costumes, making them as accurate to the toy as possible. And ultimately, I think that's what I'd have to go with. But like I said, I don't have too much of an opinion on this category. We have some conflicting thoughts in the comments, though. Zane says Napoleon. Network 98 says Barbie. Do we need to fight it out? No, but in all honesty, I think I really feel like it's gonna be Barbie. That's my gut feeling. But I mean, Napoleon, it is a war epic, and the Academy seems to like those quite a bit. So who knows? It could go in a few different directions. I'm gonna stick with Barbie though. If I had to put money on it, my money would go with Barbie. Ash R. Cummins is in here. Thank you for joining, my friend. He says, "Hey, Jaron, hope you're doing well. I'd love to stick around for the whole stream, but it's 2:18 a.m. here. Man, get to sleep. Golly, that is late. I appreciate you stopping by. Man, just wanted to say I'm so happy to see you back here on YouTube. Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate that. And thank you so much for stopping by. You didn't have to do that. 2:18. That's insane, man. I hope you're all right. I hope you get some rest tonight. Don't worry about don't worry about it. There's going to be a replay. I really appreciate you stopping by, man. Thank you so much. That's about all that Napoleon has going for it. Yeah. Yeah. And still I don't feel confident in going with that. I could see it being that. I could see it like if they said Napoleon was the winner, it wouldn't blow my mind, but I don't think it's the most interesting choice. I mean, we've seen it done before. Barbie is bringing to life such a massive IP to the big screen in live action in a way that we've never seen before. And there was a lot of intricate detail when you look closely at those costumes. There was a lot of different set pieces, a lot of different like just yeah, the real world stuff. You had Barbie Land. You had it when he turned it into Ken's Mojo Dojo Casa House. There were so many different styles throughout. I think it's just the most interesting, and that's what I have to go with, man. I just have a feeling they'll give it to Napoleon. We shall see. We shall see. Moving on to the next category, directing. It's Nolan. It is Christopher Nolan. Do I have to even read off the nominees? I'm gonna read off the nominees because that's what we're here for. Okay. I don't wanna cast anybody else aside. I want to give them their flowers. Justine Triet, Anatomy of a Fall. Martin Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon. Winner, Oppenheimer. Sorry, Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer. Yorgos Lanthimos, Poor Things. The Zone of Interest, Jonathan Glazer. Can we move on to the next category now? It's going to win, and it's my pick. If Christopher Nolan doesn't win, I don't want to cry, man. I don't want to cry. This night could potentially be very emotionally draining for me, but I choose to think positively. I believe, I believe, I believe. Oppenheimer. Give Nolan his directing Oscar already. The guy made Inception. The guy made The Dark Knight. The guy made Dunkirk. The guy made Interstellar. I'm just going to go through his whole filmography. No, I'm not. He has directed so many fantastic movies. So many movies that in the years that they came out respectively, you could argue that they were the best directed. And only now is he seeing that praise, and only now does it seem that the path is clear for him to walk away with the gold, and I think he's going to walk away with the gold. It is Nolan's year. It is Nolan's year, everybody. It's got to be. Christopher Nolan has it, or we riot. Oh, for sure. Everybody come over to my house Monday morning. We riot. Do you guys have pitchforks? That'd be fun. I've seen that in movies before. They riot with pitchforks. We can light them on fire. That'd be that'd be fun. But let's hope we don't have to do that. Because I don't really feel like going to a Tractor Supply Co. for a pitchfork. Uh, Christopher Nolan has to, or we riot. Yeah, I just read that one. Nolan, and it's not even close. Yeah, yeah. I like your spirit. I like the way you guys think. We're on the same wavelength. This isn't a Tenet thing. It's not hard to understand. It's very simple. Equals little Oscar baby. This is actually Vision. It's not an Oscar. I don't have an Oscar. I've never won. My movie crying because of Across the Spider-Verse doesn't come out until last year. So then maybe I'll have some hardware to add to my collection. But as for now, I've got this Vision. This symbolizes my Oscar. I symbolize Christopher Nolan holding the Oscar. It's going to happen, everybody. Let's move on. I don't want to dwell on this anymore. Have any doubts build. If Dune Part 2 came out last November, this category would be a competition between Nolan and Villeneuve. Imagine that, LOL. Yeah, that's what I mentioned earlier. That's what I mentioned at the beginning when I was talking about it's very lucky for Oppenheimer and Christopher Nolan and everybody involved that Dune 2 got delayed when it did, because it would have been a completely different story, especially now after seeing it. Everybody's reception, universally loved movies, calling it one of the best sequels of all time, comparing it to films like Empire Strikes Back and Return of the King. It would have been a shoo-in for all of these categories, and then this conversation would have gotten very interesting. But it got delayed, and so Oppenheimer has a pretty clear path. Nolan loves Denis Villeneuve, and I bet he loved him even more after his movie got delayed. Lone Wolf says, "Yeah, thank you, man. You're providing some very insightful opinions in this discussion." Okay. Documentary feature film. This is one that I can't really say anything on because I haven't seen any of these categories. So let me know if you guys have watched any of these and tell me what you think. I did see a couple documentaries last year. I saw uh, the Michael J. Fox documentary, and I also saw American Symphony. I thought both of those were fantastic, and I was actually surprised that at least American Symphony didn't get in. But if I had to pick, I would have gone with the Michael J. Fox movie still. But as for the actual nominees, I can't really say. Yeah. I wanted to just give a random one, but I really don't know what the gauge is on these. That was a major blind spot for me this year. Documentary, short film, same thing. Didn't watch any of these, so let me know if you have any opinions on those. Moving right along into film editing. The nominees are Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. This is an interesting category. I feel like it's between two here. I feel like it's between The Holdovers and Oppenheimer, possibly Poor Things. My opinion's not too strong here. I really don't know what direction to go. I feel like The Holdovers has a chance just because and The Holdovers might be what I go with because it's a movie in present day that carries the aesthetic of a film from the 70s very well. But then there's Oppenheimer. Yeah, Eritrea says Oppenheimer. You've convinced me. You know what? You've convinced me. I think Oppenheimer's my pick. Do I think it will win? You know what? I'm going to go with it. They're juggling both the black and white with the colored presentation. They're also going in the future and in the past and in the present at a rapid pace throughout the entire thing. The way it weaves through the imagery throughout the entire thing of the atoms floating across the screen, as well as the explosions, the sequence to where he is giving his speech after they drop the bomb and he's visualizing this woman's face melting. The way that entire sequence took place, I was sweating. It rocked me. It rocked me. The entire sequence to where there's the countdown leading to the first test. And when that finally happens, it's you know what? The more I'm talking about it, the more I'm talking myself into it. It's Oppenheimer for sure. Says Oppenheimer. Zane says Oppenheimer. Okay, let's go Oppenheimer. Let's just add another tally on to the massive win streak. They're plowing through the competition here. Let's see. Just making sure that's set. Yeah, I guess that's what I got to go with. That makes sense, right? That makes sense, right? I feel like that makes sense. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe we're all just crazy. Sorry, I had to take another sip or two of my liquid courage because my throat is getting dry, just as I predicted. All right. International feature film. Nominees are Io Capitano, Perfect Days, Society of the Snow, The Teacher's Lounge, and The Zone of Interest. Now, Perfect Days, as of late, has been getting a lot of praise. Society of the Snow, upon a release, also got a lot of praise, but I feel like that kind of subsided. The Zone of Interest has been the one that has been most universally talked about, and the conversation around the movie has stuck around for the longest. I feel like that's the one I have to go with. I'm going to say it will win, and it's my pick to win only because Godzilla Minus One was not even nominated for this category, which I think is absolutely absurd. Absurd. Insert? What? Sully Streams. Godzilla Minus One snub. Yeah. Major. Major snub. I don't understand it. I really don't understand it because especially like yes, it is a big action blockbuster with the massive kaiju wrecking the city. But at the same time, it's also a very like interesting character piece. And it almost serves as a good companion piece to a movie like Oppenheimer, giving the Japanese perspective of the war and the damage it causes and the PTSD and the survivor's guilt and all that stuff that it deals with. So it's not just a standard stereotypical blockbuster. It has something to say. It's got interesting commentary as well. And so that's why it really blows my mind that it didn't even get recognition in this category at all. It made the short list and that's it. Zane Winder says, don't have strong opinion on this one. Yeah, my opinion's not as strong as it would be if something like Godzilla Minus One was nominated for this category. But yeah, as it stands, I'd have to go with the Zone of Interest. But Perfect Days could pull it out too, because like I said, that's getting a lot of recognition as of late. And it's all about what picks up steam leading into Oscars voting before that closes, which at this point it's been closed for about a week now. Makeup and hairstyling, don't have an opinion on this one. If you guys do, leave your thoughts down in the comments. Music, original score. This category pisses me off. You don't have Daniel Pemberton's score in here for Across the Spider-Verse. How do you not nominate Across the Spider-Verse? What else is missing? Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Killers of the Flower Moon. Those are my top 3. I think the big one is Across the Spider-Verse. How do you put American Fiction in over Across the Spider-Verse? I loved American Fiction. Do I remember a single musical piece from that movie? No, I don't. Was that because I wasn't paying attention? Maybe. But I'd like to believe it's because it just wasn't as impactful. I walked away thinking about the score for Oppenheimer, thinking about the score for Poor Things, thinking about the score for Across the Spider-Verse. Now, do I think Across the Spider-Verse would have won if it was nominated? No. But it should have been shown that recognition. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, that's a stretch, okay? But I can see that one getting in over American Fiction. John Williams, an Academy darling. People love him. He's an icon, a legend. And I know a lot of people, like obviously looking at the comments already, a lot of people think Indiana Jones deserves to win. I can understand that. I can respect that. But honestly, it's not the best indie score, and it's not the best Williams score either. You know what? I would argue that Temple of Doom is the best indie score. Is that a hot take? But yeah, I don't think it's the best Williams score. I thought it was actually quite underwhelming and a little bit repetitive. It felt like they were trying to just do a lot. Scott Davis says, completely agree. I knew I liked you, my friend. I knew I liked you. Yeah, let's. Zane Winder says, give me Poor Things or Oppenheimer for this. Yeah, I feel like those are the two leading the charge right now. Sully Stream says, Raiders is the best movie, my favorite ever. Crusade has the best score for me. That's understandable. Crusade's got a very strong score. Those first 3 are iconic. I have those in the rotation often. But yeah, Temple for me hits hard. But anyways, going back to the nominees, who I think will win. I feel like it's pretty easy. We were kind of like dancing around it for a little bit. It's easy. Oppenheimer will win. Oppenheimer is my pick to win. In fact, you know how every year we have, like, if you have a streaming service like Spotify or Apple Music, they typically do like a replay or a wrapped to where they show you how many minutes of music you listen to, as well as your top song, your top album, and your top artist. My top artist and my top album for this year might be Oppenheimer and Ludwig Göransson, because it's been my sleep sounds for the last 2 months. No joke. Am I a psycho? Is it a little concerning? Possibly. Does it make me fall asleep like a little baby? Absolutely. Am I ashamed? No, I'm not. But what can you say about the score that hasn't already been said? It is the heartbeat of the movie. It's like a constant pulsating atmospheric drive throughout the entire film that like shoots this electricity through your veins that through every moment it just amplifies the entire experience. It's haunting at times, but also beautiful. Can you hear the music? One of my favorite pieces of music from a movie in quite some time. Definitely, I'd say that and Colonel Pash are my two most listened to tracks on that score, but it does so much. It's like a, what did they call it? A hectonic or a hexagonic scale. A lot of it is centered around that, where it just kind of goes up and then back down, up and then back down. And it's very simplistic, but then there's this dreadful tone that kicks in. There's a ton of undertones to it that are a lot more menacing and kind of sense and hint at danger to come. I think it's some of Ludwig's best work. Him and Nolan seem to be just a great pairing, both with this, with Tenet in 2020. Oppenheimer's got this in the bag, guys. Yeah, it's Oppenheimer. But I will say, Poor Things, pretty freaking great. Like, who else watched Poor Things and thought it almost was reminiscent of something like The Shining? You don't hear it very often. But it's Oppenheimer. It is Oppenheimer. That's what I gotta go with. Again, if Dune 2 came out last year, huge competition between Goransson and Zimmer. Absolutely. Although I will say, honestly, I loved, maybe this is going to be a hot take. I love Dune 2. It's possibly my favorite sci-fi movie ever. I know that's a strong thing to say. Maybe recency bias in there. I don't know. I've already seen it twice. Plan on seeing it 2 more times this weekend. Sci-fi movies have never really impacted me the way that they do a lot of people. So for me to be moved by a movie like I did, Dune Part 2 means a lot for me. That being said, I think the score was stronger in Dune Part 1. I do. So even if Dune Part 2 came out last year, when it comes to this category, I still think Oppenheimer probably would have walked away with it. Now, would it have been a tighter race the whole award season? Yes. And I do think that there would have been multiple occurrences of Zimmer taking home the award over Goransson. But I still feel like Oppenheimer would have came out on top. 123 Rock Fan. Hey, Jaron. What's up, man? Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. Sasha Raquel. How are you doing? Thank you so much for stopping by. It's good to see you in the comments. It's been good to talk to you the past couple of days, catch up a little bit. It's been a while, my friend. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing well. Yeah, I can't complain. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Speaking of Lanthimos, I personally hate the score for The Lobster. Thought it was super obnoxious. I don't recall that score too much. It's been a while since I saw that movie. I think I saw it the year it came out. It didn't really stick with me, except for that it was very weird. So maybe I need to rewatch that one and listen to the score again. I agree with that too. Dune 1 score was slightly better. Yeah, it's not by much. It's just like, especially for how much more they were doing in Dune 2 in terms of action and spectacle and just the size and scale of it all, I would have expected the score to complement that a little bit better. But a lot of it is pretty like subtle and repeating themes throughout, except for like a few of the battle sequences. It gets pretty like hard. It goes pretty intense. And there's moments that I enjoy throughout, but it's just not as memorable as like Paul's dream in Dune Part 1. Yeah, that's my take though. Villeneuve is honestly better sci-fi director than Nolan. Arrival, Blade Runner 2049, and the Dune movies. He's definitely the least controversial director in the sci-fi genre between the two of them. But then again, like Inception is regarded as a all-time favorite by a lot of people. But you've really got, I mean, and Interstellar too, and I love Interstellar. In fact, I like Interstellar more than I like Inception, but a lot of people have issues with that movie. And that's the thing about Nolan's films is a lot of them are very controversial because some people don't like elements of it. They find them too confusing or a little bit convoluted. You don't really have that same issue with Denis. He's pretty good at bringing these stories to life, and Blade Runner 2049, regarded as one of the better sci-fi sequels. A lot of people think it's better than Blade Runner. Arrival, a lot of people's favorite movie. I feel like, yeah, I would agree with that. I think he is the stronger in the sci-fi genre. That's hard to say, man. It feels weird saying that, though. It feels like I'm betraying Nolan, but Nolan's got a lot more going for him than just sci-fi movies. Villeneuve has kind of made a rise over the past few years over the sci-fi genre, and he's most recently brought to life a franchise that has been widely regarded as unadaptable. And I mean, it's been adapted previously, obviously, but not to this level. Like he's doing things that nobody ever thought was possible. So I would agree with this take. I kind of wish Dune had more of a classical score in the vein of Jurassic Park or Alien. It's already so epic in scope that it doesn't need loud, abrasive music, in my opinion. That's I agree with that to an extent, but I also feel like it's a dense movie, so the music kind of lines up with that. But I do feel like that's another thing. I feel like there are more of the more subtle but very complex tracks in the first movie, while there were more like overbearing, abrasive, loud tracks in the second movie. But I can understand that. Sasha, she's the best. I would agree. I would agree. Sasha says, "Have you seen Kimmel's host trailer for the Oscars? I thought it was hilarious and really give me hope this will be a great award show, especially compared with this year's Golden Globes." I did see it. I thought it was good. I loved the last time Kimmel hosted. I think he's a great host. He knows what he's doing. He's very confident and he's never trying to do too much. Like as you mentioned the Golden Globes, I feel like they always end up picking somebody, and even the Oscars of the past few years. Now, I thought Chris Rock did a good job. It sucks that all that controversy happened. Amy Schumer and a couple of the other hosts they've had, it's been rough. The Golden Globes, Joe Coy, what the heck was he doing? These people come up and they think that they have to overdo it and that they have to steal the show. No, they're just complimenting the rest that's going on. They don't have to be the center of attention. They're just kind of they're there to elevate the entire experience. And you don't have to go overboard with it. And I think Kimmel is funny but subtle enough that he really works. He brings the same energy to the Oscars as he does to his show, his own show. And I think that's the right approach. There's a reason he got the job. Why would you stray away from that and try to do something outside of your character just to make the show more interesting? You're there because of your personality. Stick with it. I thought the trailer was good. To answer your question, that was like a long rabbit trail. I saw the trailer. I thought it was good, especially with like the just having inserting him into Dreamland and all that stuff. It was very, very well done, very well produced. And in terms of promotional material for the Oscars, it's some of the best that we've seen in a while. So yeah, I'm hoping that that is a good sign to come for what's ahead this year. Kimmel gets ragged on for no reason. I honestly think because it's easy to pick on somebody who's all of the award show or all of the late night hosts get picked on. And I think people on the internet like to stir drama out of nothing. And he might honestly be the least controversial out of all the hosts right now. And people like to make something out of nothing, you know? I'm thinking of a couple months ago, Aaron Rodgers, a certain person, a certain person's island and a list that was leaked, and Aaron Rodgers making the claim that Kimmel was probably there. Like Kimmel wasn't doing anything, and then all of a sudden he's starting to get like threats to his family and all this stuff. Just because, like, I don't know. Is it because he's honest? Is it because he's real? Is it because he doesn't care if he hurts anybody's feelings? I don't know why he gets ragged on, but it really doesn't make sense to me either. Personally, I don't think there needs to be a host, just presenters for the awards. That can potentially work. And didn't they did that a couple of years ago, didn't they? I think having a host just adds a little bit more structure. And I've been burnt out with the host over the past few years, but it's just because of all the controversy that's come with it, or them just not picking a good host. But I think Kimmel is a solid one. I think people anybody who thinks this is going to watch it this year and realize that yeah, if you have the right person doing it, it flows well. It flows well. And it actually can eliminate a lot of the cringe bits and a lot of the just overdone skits and monologues and all of that stuff. Like it could it can streamline the show a lot better if it's effective. Okay, but let's get back into the categories. So the next one we've got is music, original song. Nominees are The Fire Inside from Flamin' Hot, I'm Just Ken from Barbie, It Never Went Away from American Symphony, Wazahi, Wazazi? I'm sorry, A Song for My People. I'm sorry if I butchered that. And What Was I Made For from Barbie. I'm Just Ken, getting a lot of love. It actually snuck away with a couple of awards this award season. Nobody, including Ryan Gosling himself, thought it was going to happen. He is performing I'm Just Ken at the Oscars, but so is Billie Eilish. Somebody who's been here, who's already won the award, is very critically acclaimed in the film space for her work that she's already done with No Time to Die a few years back, but also in the music space. She's won a lot of Grammys. She makes music that a large audience loves. And in particular for Barbie, she made a song that really just tied the whole thing together, tied the whole film together very nicely with Barbie. The musical sequence where the song is actually incorporated, where she says, "Look into my eyes," that whole thing brought a tear to my eye. Like I thought, I'm a guy in a Barbie movie surrounded by a bunch of teenage girls, and I'm sitting there like having to shield my eyes because I was crying. Like I took my 13-year-old niece to go see this movie, and I blocked my face because I was like, I'm getting emotional. She's gonna make fun of me. The song was emotional. That moment was emotional, but they really went hand in hand. And I mean, when you listen to the musical structure of the film throughout, the theme, the underlying theme is it plays into What Was I Made For? I think it's just the strongest. I think it's the one that is being talked about the most. Well, maybe not the most. I feel like I'm Just Ken is getting talked about more, but it's just because of the memification of it, the sort of virality it's had on the internet. But if you're talking about quality, I think it's going to be What Was I Made For from Billie Eilish and Phineas. I think the Academy is going to reflect that thinking, and that is 100% my pick. Maybe I'm a little biased because Billie Eilish is my favorite artist working today. But that's what I've got to go with. That's going with my gut, but I'm also going with my heart here, man. I'm going with my heart. It, is Can't Catch Me Now nominated? No, it's not. That would have been a great one, though. That really would have been a great one. Honestly, in looking at this category, if I had to sub one in, I would probably say take out The Fire Inside and put in Can't Catch Me Now. I love that song. Olivia Rodrigo, that would be huge for her to get nominated for an Oscar, but I think it's just lyrically one of the best films or yeah, one of the best songs. It complemented it extremely well. That's just to me a song that is worthy of the award is a song that both benefits the story it's written for, but also has replay value outside of the movie. And for me, the two movies or the two songs that I listened to the most from movies this year, outside of like compositions and scores and whatnot, Can't Catch Me Now and What Was I Made For? So it was not nominated. You could argue that that is a snub. I would have been very happy to see that nominated. Sasha says, let's see. Such a great point. Don't change your shtick because you're a host rather than a comedian. Yeah, totally. Although I will say, Amy Schumer got up there, didn't change her shtick. Her shtick just didn't work in the first place. I don't want to. You know what really pisses me off? I think one of my most viewed videos, if not my most viewed video on YouTube, is a short I made a year ago reacting to Amy Schumer being the host of the Oscars. Was it a year ago? Whenever that was, 2 years ago, 3 years. I'm losing track of time, man. But that is like my most viewed video on my channel. And it's like a 30-second little clip of me reacting to Amy Schumer stand up. And that video blew up. And it blows my mind. I'm not a fan of her. I'm not a fan of her. Anyways, I don't mean to turn this into an Amy Schumer rant. Let's keep it positive. Sasha also says 100% what was I made for? Great minds think alike. All right, let's see here. Can't Catch Me Now reminds me a lot of the Ed Sheeran Hobbit song. Are you talking about I See Fire? I can see that, but they're also very different in my opinion. But both good. Both good. I'm a big fan of I See Fire as well. Baha, I remember that short. She wasn't funny that night. No. I can maybe count on a finger the amount of times that she's been funny. I can't. I gotta stop this, man. I gotta stop. Too negative. I don't want to be ragging on anybody. I feel bad. Okay. I'm gonna skip over this one and go to these others first. So, okay. Production design. Nominees: Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. I feel like the two top players here, well, two, potentially three. If Napoleon's not going to get costumes, I think this is the only place it has a shot. Is this the only other place it's nominated? It might be the only other place it's nominated. Do I think it's going to win? No, but it's probably my number 3. Top 2 players, Barbie and Poor Things, without a doubt. Who do I think should win? Poor Things, 100%. Who do I think the Academy is going to pick? That's where it gets interesting. That's where I'm really not sure. Sorry, I had to adjust my hat. It's kind of a toss-up, and this is a hard category. Like I said about Barbie, when it comes to the costume design, they brought these characters in this world to life in a grand way, and I mean, even more so when it comes to production design. They really fully realized Barbie Dreamland in such great detail, super vibrant colors, just a great atmosphere all the way around. Really worked. But then Poor Things is just, like I said, every shot looks like a painting, and a lot of that is because the set pieces are just so magical. So magical. But I don't know, man. This is another one where I gotta go with my gut. So, all that being said, I think, man, what do you guys think? Let's go to the comments. I need some convince. Talk some sense into me real quick. What are you guys thinking? 123 Rock fan says, "Did you see any of the short films? Some of them were amazing, especially 95 Senses." Unfortunately, I did not. I wasn't able to check out any of the short films. Let's see. Lone Wolf says Napoleon or Oppenheimer because one, it's all history telling. They have to get the right design to make it real. I mean, I can see that. There is a sense of like realism is highly favored, but at the same time, like I feel like they're gonna go with something that's more visually interesting. Like, yes, they built an entire village for Oppenheimer. And they exploded a bomb. But I don't know. That's why Network 98 says Oppenheimer too. Zane says this one's tough. I'd probably go Poor Things. 123 Rock Fan says I'd vote Flower Moon. I can understand that, but at the same time, I feel like the Killers of the Flower Moon is probably the least interesting. Jared, if Across the Spider-Verse doesn't win Best Animated, then you have to make your profile picture Elemental for 30 days. Please don't make me do that. Why? That's torture. That is torture. I'll think about it. I'll think about it. You know what? I'll star this comment. I don't know. Can you guys see if it's starred on here? I'll think about it. That would hurt my soul. Truly, deeply. Okay, so you guys are kind of in the same spot as me. There's no real consensus here, which makes this tough. Screw it. I'm going to say will win Barbie. Unfortunately, outside of, I feel like all Barbie really has going for it is music, best original song, and a couple of the technical categories. So, I mean, these would, costumes and production design are the two big ones. Yeah, I'll say will win Barbie. My pick, Poor Things. Am I confident about that? No. But we do what we got to do. Animated short film. Again, haven't seen any of these as well as live action short films, so I can't comment on those. Sound? Okay. Camera cut out for the second time. Let's go. I promise you guys, real soon, hopefully within the next month, I will be having a new camera that I'm very excited about. I've been saving up for it, and it's going to be very beneficial for the live streams. And we won't have the same cutout every 30 minutes. So the nominees for sound are The Creator, Maestro, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, Oppenheimer, and The Zone of Interest. One, two, three Rock Fan says, let's see, can you make your screen bigger? The nominees, sure. Let's switch it up to, let's go like this for now. Is that okay? Hopefully that's a little bit better. I'll switch it back when I'm talking. So my thoughts on sound, you know what? One I want to highlight is Maestro, because it does something that very few films do today, to where it really captures the atmosphere of a room. Like, one of the things I really appreciated is that there will be scenes that take place in a living room where they're having a dinner party, and you've got two main characters talking, but all of the sound swirling around from all of the other conversations going on in the room play a part in it too, and they make you feel like you're there in the room with those characters. Whereas a lot of movies, you would just have the two main characters talking, and everything behind them is kind of blurred out. It's kind of muffled. This came through very clear. It just felt, and there's scenes like, I think of the scene to where you have, why am I blanking on the characters' names? You have Bradley Cooper and Carey Mulligan sitting on the balcony talking about the impact of music and how just music makes him feel alive, to say, for lack of better words. I'm struggling to remember exactly what he said. but you hear the wind blowing through the trees, and you hear the leaves, and you hear the birds whistling in the background, and just in terms of, like, atmosphere, I think Maestro did something very, very, very well that I don't see a lot, but I really appreciated and I thought was extremely effective. But Oppenheimer, like, you're dealing with, like, an atomic bomb. I think of Leonard Bernstein, yes. I don't know why I was blanking on his name. I've been talking for an hour and a half. My mind, along with my throat, is getting a little fried. Oppenheimer, I can think of the scene to where they're testing the atomic bomb, and you see it explode, but it's all quiet. And then the sound catches up with everything else, and it's swirling, and it hits hard. That scene stands out. And then you've got, like, again, I'll mention the sequence to where he's giving the speech right after they drop the bomb, and he's visioning everybody in the crowd going up in flames. It becomes muffled. He's so in his head that he can't hear anything going on around him. He drowns all the noise out. The stomping, yes, you hear the stomping earlier in the film, which highlights kind of like an impending doom to come, but then you work up to that moment to where he's giving that speech, and this is like the turning point of the movie to where they finally launched the thing that he was working towards, but he doesn't feel good about it. It all came to a head in that moment, and I feel like the sound was a major player there. And then also, like, the interrogation scene where you've got him in the room with all those other guys asking him questions, and who is the main guy? I always forget his name. I'm forgetting a lot of names at the moment right now, though. Apologies. Oppenheimer. Jason Clarke. Start screaming at him, trying to get him to tell him something, like trying to get him to speak the truth. And, like, there's a swirling effect in the back. The sound is like it comes in full force. I feel like it's between those two. Well, I say that, and then you've got the zone of interest. Man, this category is more stacked. It's a little more difficult than I initially gave credit for, really. The zone of interest, like the entire movie almost revolves around the sound. Man. So what do you give it to? Honestly, okay, I really think it would be between Oppenheimer and the zone of interest. You've got Oppenheimer, all those scenes that I talked about. The zone of interest, the entire movie, you're dealing with a family living a suburban lifestyle with on the other side of their fence is like incarceration camps. People are getting incinerated, burned alive. And you can hear the subtle screams throughout the entire movie, but it's kind of muffled. It's kind of in the background. It's not in the present. The whole film deals with what you can't see, but what you can hear. You know what? Okay. This might be the wrong call. This might go down as a loss or a negative tally in my final Oscar predictions list. Who I think will win the zone of interest. Who I want to win give me Oppenheimer. Give me Oppenheimer. It's a toss up for me between Oppenheimer and Maestro, but I'm just gonna go with Oppenheimer. Oppie sweep. If Oppenheimer won this category, though, I'd be pretty happy. Pretty surprised, but pretty happy. I feel like the zone of interest, yeah, it has a chance. It has a chance. These technical categories are a little more difficult for me, to be honest. How do you guys feel? Zane Winder says, "Give me Maestro, but it probably won't sweep." Yeah, it's a tough one for sure. Okay, let's move on here. Visual effects. Now, interestingly, we've got the creator, which that's a big deal for this movie, especially with how much it underperformed and how little of a budget they were working with. The fact that it was nominated for both visual effects and sound, pretty big deal. Pretty cool. You've got Godzilla minus one, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, and Napoleon. I'm going to say will win. You know what? I have a hunch here. I'm going to say Godzilla minus one will win, and it's my pick to win. Also, minus one, I don't know if you guys realize this. Godzilla minus one was made on a budget of about $12 million. All of that money went to the visual effects. I, which there's a negative side of that too, because when you think about it, that means that they like severely underpaid their actors and their production crew and all that stuff. But the labor laws are a lot different. The wages are a lot different in Japan. Most of this money went straight into the visual effects, and it shows. I mean, it's gorgeous to look at. It's gorgeous. You could go with something like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 because of how much it's doing, but I don't always think the amount of visual effects always means it's the best. Mission Impossible, there's a chance. Napoleon, there's a chance. The Creator, there's a chance, but I feel like it's Godzilla minus one. That's what I would go with. That's what I'm confident in for now. But hey, it's Wednesday. By Sunday, my list could be completely different. That's what I'm going to run with. If I think about it too much, I'm going to be fixated on it, and I'm going to drive myself insane. Then we get to writing, adapted screenplay. Interesting category here. We've got American Fiction, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. These categories are getting more and more difficult. There was obviously controversy around Barbie from Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach because a lot of people thought it would be original screenplay, that it would qualify for that category. And really, let's see, if it was an original screenplay, honestly, I don't know which category it would have had a better chance in. Do I think Barbie is going to win this? I don't. I think this is Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer would also be my pick. We're speeding it up a little bit here just because this has been a pretty long stream, but I do think that Oppenheimer will win and should win. Going to original screenplay, this is the one and only time I can say this. May December Hive, please stand up. If you haven't seen May December, go watch the movie. One of my favorites of the year. Did not get enough love. That's another snub I didn't mention in the beginning of this stream. Charles Melton for Best Supporting Actor. If he would have been nominated, he would have been my pick to win. Honestly, my favorite vote or my favorite performance of the year in the supporting category. Like even over Robert Downey Jr. And I thought Robert Downey Jr. was great the first time I saw him. But as time went on, like I just felt like Melton's performance was a lot more interesting. He was the kind of the backbone of the movie. But anyways, back on topic. Original screenplay, the categories or the nominees are Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Maestro, May December, Past Lives. I feel like it's going to be between Anatomy of a Fall and The Holdovers. Man, is there a chance The Holdovers really will only walk away with one potential Oscar win? I think there's a big chance it might only get one win. Because if I'm being honest, I think Anatomy of a Fall is going to win. What do I think should win? It's a toss-up between May December and The Holdovers, but The Holdovers was my second favorite movie of the year. So I'm gonna go with The Holdovers for should win, but I have a feeling it's gonna be Anatomy of a Fall. I really do. I think it seems like the conversation around this movie only continues to build. And it really just continues to pick up steam. Which I also want to give a shout out to Past Lives, Celine's song, snubbed in the director category. I don't think there's a chance it wins here. I really think, yeah, Anatomy of a Fall will win. The Holdovers should win. Those are my picks. Locking them in. Let's see here. Past Life should have gotten more love at the Oscars. One of the 4 films in 2023 I gave a 10 out of 10 to. That's my pick. That's a good one. That's a very solid movie. A very solid movie. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah, I give a shout out to it. I think it deserves a lot more love than it's getting, but at the same time, it's nice to see the recognition it did get for what it did get. All right. Going back to it. We're on to the big one, folks. Best Picture. The nominees are American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. This is the first year where I look at these nominees and I pretty much like every single movie here, but also I feel extremely confident in who's going to win. Short and simple, folks. To finish the Oppie sweep, I believe Oppenheimer will win Best Picture at the Oscars 2024, and I think it should win. That is my pick. They're going to walk away. Cillian Murphy is going to be a Best Actor winner. Robert Downey Jr. is going to be a Best Supporting Actor winner. Christopher Nolan is walking away with Best Director and Best Picture. It's going to be amazing. I can see it now. The Oppie sweep coming to a magnificent close. And for the first time in years, I'm going to be extremely satisfied. That's the way I see it. I really can't see a universe where any other movie wins other than Oppenheimer. Now, there could be like the crazy chance that something like The Holdovers wins. I love The Holdovers. Do I see it winning Best Picture? Absolutely not. No. I feel like it's obvious that it's going to be Oppenheimer. I mean, it came out in July. And people still don't shut up about this movie, including myself. And it's for good reason. Nolan somehow figured out a way to tell a historical biopic about the guy who created atomic bomb, make the movie over 3 hours long. And he got millions of people to come see this movie. The movie made over $1 billion. What? It's a movie that proves that people are wanting more out of their blockbuster movies than just big explosions and quick wit jokes and meaningless, mindlessness jargon. They want something with substance. And that's what Oppenheimer delivered on. People showed up and loved it. And yeah, it's just I'm going to be extremely satisfied when the entire award season culminates with Oppenheimer winning Best Picture. That's the way I see it. Lone Wolf says, how about Killers of the Flower Moon? Nah, there's no chance. I really don't see a chance. I actually see this movie outside of like potentially Lily Gladstone. If Gladstone doesn't win Best Actress, There's a chance that Killers of the Flower Moon walks away with 0 Oscars. I It's hard to say, but I really I feel like the only somewhat, guaranteed, and it's not guaranteed because, like I said, Emma Stone and Lily Gladstone are neck and neck right now. But that's the only category that I can really see being an easy win. It's obvious that Oppenheimer will win. Do you think Poor Things could pull in Everything Everywhere All at Once? No way. No way. I think it's just now Everything Everywhere All at Once was wacky, but it was in a more endearing, family friendly way. Poor Things, I feel like is too controversial, too polarizing that it's not. I don't think it's going to have the same widespread impact. I don't think it's going to make the same amount of noise. Unfortunately, even I actually liked Poor Things more than Everything Everywhere All at Once. Honestly, maybe that's a hot take. Aricha Das says Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer definitely. Remember when a little indie film swept the Oscars last year? LOL. It was really unexpected, but I was really happy for Everything Everywhere. I mean, it was a big deal. It was a big deal, and I'm happy for it too. Like I said, I'm not as big of a fan of that movie as a lot of people are, but I can recognize the craft on display there, and I think it was pretty cool that a movie like that, with as low of a budget as they had, and just how whimsical and out there it was to win something like Best Picture. You don't see that very often. It seems like they either play it with something safe or something political or something just of the times, and that's just completely outside of anything else. It's a great thing. Barbenheimer really carried 2023 in terms of cinema. Agreed. Yeah, that was a cultural phenomenon. We probably won't get something like that again for the next at least 10 years. If Dune Part 2 came out in 2023, do you think it could have beaten Oppenheimer? I think there's a chance. I think there would have been a bigger competition, like I said, in the music category and uh, really all of the other categories. I think Dune Part 2 probably would have gotten potentially Best Adapted Screenplay, editing, sound, cinematography. This could have been a completely different outlook if Dune Part 2 did not get delayed. Controversial question, LOL, but do you think the Moonlight La La Land debacle was staged? That's interesting, and it's hard to say. I remember watching it when it happened, and I felt like it was odd. But I don't know how. I think the presenter's excuse was that they were given all of the nominees as well as the winner, and they read off one of the nominees instead of the winner, but isn't the winner inside of the envelope? So how would you confuse it? I think there's a good chance it could be staged. But if it was, that's a crappy joke to pull on anybody. I still believe La La Land should have won that year. It was very weird, very weird. And you notice it hasn't happened since. It was but then again, I feel, was it in the same year that the La La Land Moonlight debacle happened and then Steve Harvey named the wrong, Miss Universe or whatever? Maybe they just had to fix their cards. I don't know. It was weird, but I'd say it's hard to say. I don't really have a definitive answer on that. Let's be honest, we were all happy for Brendan Fraser to win his Oscar last year. I was happy for him. I wanted Austin Butler to win, though. Brendan Fraser's a great guy. By stage, I think a producer just gave them the wrong envelope on purpose to make the announcement seem longer, but they didn't actually want them to read the wrong winner. There's a chance of that. Yeah, that's right, because an actor presented the award, but the producer came out to say that it was actually Moonlight, right? It was a weird thing. Yeah. It's really hard to say. They definitely had to change their whole system after that. Barbenheimer carried Hollywood at the time because the strikes were going out and the summer flopbuster disaster was starting to become a thing. Yeah, but then also you had it was partially that, but then you just had two movies that were coming out at the same exact time and using marketing to sort of compete with each other, but also at the same time you had the actors and the directors of each movie actively supporting the other movie they were competing with. And on one hand, you had a massive blockbuster that was 3 hours long about the making of the atomic bomb. Nolan, anybody who loves Nolan, anybody who's a history buff, anybody that loves grand cinematic experiences, were all there to the theater. But then you had Barbie, and there was a lot of attention to it because Billie Eilish was doing the song, Margot Robbie, Ken, or Ryan Gosling were Ken. Great cast involved. But then there was also the appeal of Greta Gerwig, who was previously small indie drama filmmaker, is now making big budget studio, massive IP film, and it's gonna be PG-13. There's a lot that play there, and I think it was just because there was two films that were coming out at the same time that were equally as interesting to people, and the people who wanted to see one movie ended up seeing both, and so yeah, I mean, I don't know how much the strikes played into it really, but I think yeah, the Flopbuster thing, people were excited to have movies that were genuinely good come back to the theater. It felt like for the first time since the pandemic, the theatrical experience was very much alive and well. Mike's reviews and analysis. Jared, what's up, my dude? What's up, man? Thank you so much for joining. But yeah, we've gone through all the nominations now, so I'm going to spend, let's do the last 10 minutes. We'll do the last 10 minutes answering your questions. So whatever you want to talk about, any questions you have, anything you want to discuss, movie related, life related, whatever it may be, throw it down below in the comments. Thank you guys so much who have stuck around this, or so much to everybody who has stuck around this entire time. This is a much longer live stream than I anticipated, but that's always a good thing. If it goes longer, that means it went well. But I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you haven't yet, make sure to leave a like, share with your friends, all of that jazz. I really appreciate all of you guys. But yeah, how are you guys doing? Let's see. Zane Winder says, I wanted Austin Butler to win, but I mean, just for Frazier's comeback story, people were cheering for him. Yeah, for sure. I mean, he kind of disappeared there for a while. And obviously, he had a lot of battles with some pretty rough things in the past. And it went through some really difficult times. So it was nice to see him come out of the other side, be happy and healthy, and deliver such a great performance. Um, so yeah, I mean, even though I wanted Austin Butler to win, but I was also rooting for Brendan Fraser. I was not mad. I still can't believe the director of Minari is making the Twister sequel. Yeah, it's a weird choice, but hey, I mean, Minari was a good movie. If the trailer looks, how do you feel about the trailer? How do you feel about the first Twister movie? I don't know if I wouldn't say it's a good movie, but I enjoy it. I'm kind of looking forward to Twisters. It might be a nice, like, guilty pleasure. Sorry I came in so late. LOL, I had to stream myself just before this. No problem, man. Thank you so much for joining. I hope your stream went well. What's your thoughts on Deadpool 3? I think it's going to be a fun time. I mean, by far, out of all the trailers we got at the Super Bowl, that was my favorite one. It's the sort of thing I need right now to get me back into Marvel. If they can really push the boundaries and really embrace the R rating and the Deadpool style, having Hugh Jackman come back and finally being in his yellow suit, all that stuff, there's plenty working in its favor. There's plenty of working in its favor for me to like it. I'm just hoping that they can stick the landing, you know? What movies and shows are you most looking forward to for the rest of the year? Deadpool 3 or Deadpool and Wolverine is one for sure. Um, let's see. There's indie horror movie being produced by Neon starring Nicolas Cage is coming out in July, I believe, called Longlegs. And it's like a horror slash serial killer movie. There's not a lot of information about it thus far, but they've released a couple teasers that make it seem very interesting. Nicolas Cage is potentially a serial killer. That could be crazy. Um, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I'm interested to see how that turns out. It's going to be weird not having Matt Reeves in the director's chair, but I mean, the trailers look promising. What else is there coming out? A Quiet Place Day 1 could potentially be a good thing. Those are a couple of my favorites. Dune Part 2 is my most anticipated of the year, and it's weird that it's March and it's already come now and come and gone. I'm sure there's a few other ones. You know what? Let me pull up my Letterboxd. I have a Letterboxd most anticipated list. I will say that one of the movies on that list was Mickey 17, but that recently got delayed, unfortunately. Most anticipated movies of 2024. So my number one was Dune. Oh yeah, Joker, Folie à Deux. The budget for that movie is insane. I don't know how they went from like $60 million to over $200 million. Those musical set pieces must be fire. I'm hoping that movie turns out well, but it could also go very wrong. I can see it going either way. Nosferatu from Robert Eggers. Paddington 3 is on my list, but I think it like was silently delayed to next year. Am I wrong about that? Is Paddington 3 still coming out this year? Let me know. Um, we have Maxine coming out and Challengers. I do have Luca Guadagnino's Challengers in here, starring Zendaya and Mike Faced. I'm pretty excited about that movie. Looks like it'll be pretty steamy, pretty interesting. Um, she's on fire right now. The trailer is very fun. The Art of Seduction and Other Games. It could potentially be pretty good. I'm hoping the best for it, really. Okay, let's see here. I just rewatched the first Alien today. The sets and special effects are so incredible that they would hold up if they were used in a movie today. I agree with that. Practical effects, they're unmatched. They're unmatched. Lone Wolf says, I like the Twister movie. Yeah, me too. Like I said, I don't think I would necessarily say it's good, but it's a good time. And those can kind of go hand in hand. What movie do you think will make $1 billion in 2024? If Dune Part 2 doesn't do it, I feel like the only other big player would have to be Deadpool and Wolverine. People are going to show up just because they love the characters, and the Marvel stands are going to be there like they're day one for every other movie. The rest of the films this year, I feel like it's going to be pretty hard to get over that $1 billion hump. I feel like even the animated movies aren't on the same level, don't have as much drive behind them as something like last year with the Super Mario Bros. Movie or something like that. So if Doom Part 2 doesn't do it, which it might come under the radar. I see that maybe capping at like 850, 900 mil. I think Deadpool and Wolverine has to be the only other player. Sean Levy directing Deadpool has me worried a bit. I can understand that, but at the same time, did you watch Free Guy? I felt like that was a pretty good, solid blockbuster, and it felt in line with sort of the tone of a Deadpool movie. Like obviously a lot less raunchy. It's a family movie, but it was at a very large scale, and I feel like Levy kind of proved with that movie that he can do something of this capacity. He works with Reynolds a lot. He likes Reynolds. They have great chemistry, and I think he knows how to make Reynolds look good. The Adam Project. Say what you want about the visual effects and the villain in that movie and stuff like that. Overall, it's a pretty decent looking movie. Is he like the strongest option? Not necessarily, but I would say have a little faith. I would say don't count him out yet. Honestly, I'm with you. Couldn't really say if it's a really good movie, but Twister is absolutely a classic. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm really excited to watch that one actually. I was thinking about it the other day. I need to watch Twister before Twisters comes out. I also need to watch The Crow. I've never seen The Crow, the original, with Brandon Lee, but with the new one coming out with Bill Skarsgård, the internet's in a stir about that. The first look pictures that dropped. I need to see what that story's all about, especially before that new one comes out. I need to know what I'm getting myself into, you know? Plus, the son of Anthony Perkins is directing Longlegs. Is Osgood Perkins Anthony's son? Like Norman Bates? That's cool. That gets me more excited. That's pretty cool. Little nepo baby action. I did not know that. Also, I'm watching Jazz versus Bulls game right now. We are missing like half our roster. Yeah, that sucks, man. On the other hand, the Warriors are kind of hot right now. After getting absolutely, so we were talking about it in the live stream about the Warriors. And then I said, I was like, they're on the come up. They're looking better. The second half, they've been pretty solid so far. Then we play the Celtics and we get blown out by like what, 48 points? But we got Wiggins coming back and it looks, I still have hope. I still have hope. Lone Wolf says John Wick. Uh, what does that mean? There's not a John Wick movie coming out this year. Are you going to start watching Shogun? You know I'm tempted to. And after seeing the early reactions, I'm really frustrated that I didn't go to the early screening. In Atlanta, they had a screening for the first 2 episodes of the show in a theater. I could have seen it on the big screen. That would have been really cool. People are saying it's arguably the best show of the year. So I'll probably give it a watch. What's your favorite Funko Pop in your collection? Good question. Do I have any of them back here? You know, I think it might be my Joker chase right here, or I have this Walter White Funko Pop. I like this one a lot. I haven't gone as heavy with the Funko Pops as of late. I've kind of stopped collecting them. I'm kind of keeping the core ones that I really enjoy, but I might actually filter out a lot of them as well. I'd be around for a long time, but I think that might not be the case anymore. Sally Hawkins was replaced with Emily Mortimer in Paddington, which was disappointing, but Mortimer is still a great actress, though. That is disappointing. I didn't know that. I love Sally Hawkins. Not a fan of everything she's in, but I like her a lot. So that really sucks. Man, I didn't know that. I have to hop, Jared, but this stream was so fun. Have a great night and great rest of your week. Thank you, Sasha, so much. Like I said, I appreciate you stopping by. It's good to talk to you. Hope to see you soon, my friend, and hope you have a great rest of your week as well. Thoughts on Twisters having a $200 million budget? Insane. Think about this. Dune Part 2 is out now. Twisters has the same level of a budget as Dune Part 2. Tell me how it makes sense. I don't know. I think it's ridiculous. I think at this point, it's because they're paying way more for star power than they actually are about investing into making their movie look good. And that's why you have these movies coming out these days with stellar cast, shoddy production. They are coming out with the new Garfield animation. Yeah. Chris Pratt. the king of everything right now. Are you guys looking forward to that? I'm not. I'm really not. Dude, you need to watch The Crow. Such an amazing film. Arguably my favorite comic book movie ever. Yeah, so yesterday I posted on Twitter, or I responded to somebody's post on Twitter because they were talking about they got the urge to watch The Crow, and I was like, I've never seen that. And actually, Sean Chandler responded to me, and he was like, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, I've never gotten around to it, but I've got to check it out to see what all this controversy is about." And he was telling me that, like, one, people just having a major attachment to it because of the guy who unfortunately passed away, but also he said that Stahelski, when Brandon Lee passed away, Stahelski finished the movie. Chad Stahelski, the stuntman for Captain America in the Captain America and the Avengers movies, but also the director of Extraction and Extraction 2. So I thought that was very cool. That made me more interested to check it out. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that one. It's coming out on 4K soon. I'm probably going to pick it up and I'll watch it on 4K. I'd like my first experience with the movie to be in the best quality possible. All right, we're going to answer a few more and then we're going to head out. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. Have you seen the miniseries Queen's Gambit with Anya Taylor-Joy? Show actually takes place in my high school in Kentucky. Show was filmed in Germany, though, weirdly enough. I did not see that, but I've heard good things about it. That's cool that it was so it takes place in your high school, but it wasn't filmed there. It was filmed in Germany. Interesting. Does Germany and Kentucky have a lot in common in terms of physical landscape? That's odd. That Joker is a great figure. I've really slowed down myself on collecting. Last one I got was Indiana Jones as a Christmas gift. Yeah, same here. I've definitely slowed down. I've a lot more of my like spending money has gone towards physical media over Funko Pops, just because I get more use and enjoyment out of that. I still think Funko Pops are cool. Like I have them in my set. I love them, but I'm not as heavy into collecting them as I once was. But I'll definitely hold on to the ones that I like the most. Even though you guys got destroyed by Boston, I still won't count you out. Curry is the GOAT. There we go. I like that. I like that spirit. I like that attitude. Sorry, I'm getting a text message here. Who dat? Who dat? All right. The Crow is definitely a product of its time. Yeah, that's kind of what I've gathered. I'm like I said, I'm very interested to check it out. See where I stand on things. Aretra Das says, I finished the Netflix live action Avatar The Last Airbender and I thought it was mediocre. Not awful, just very bland and missing the flavor of the OG show. Still miles better than the movie. Yeah, so I watched about the first 3 episodes of Avatar The Last Airbender, and unfortunately, I checked out. Avatar The Last Airbender, the animated show, is arguably my favorite animated show of all time. With the live action, I was already kind of skeptical. When the original writers dropped out, I was even more skeptical and became much less optimistic about it doing good. And after seeing it, I felt like they were both trying to make it be reminiscent of the animated show and at the same time trying to insert new stuff. And it was just a juggling act that they couldn't keep up with. And the result was something very, like you said, mediocre, but also something that was overly dramatic, very melodramatic, and not nearly as impactful. Now, some of the visuals are cool. Some of the added storylines, like the opening in episode 1 of The Airbender, where you have the guy fleeing from the Fire Nation, I thought that was very interesting. When it comes to the main cast of characters, I feel like that's something that they really had to nail to get you on board first impression with the show, and I don't think the actors they got really matched the energy of these characters. And I think the show also has a problem of I would much rather characters convey through their emotions and their expressions what they're feeling. And through the atmosphere of the story itself, convey that message. The live action Airbender show takes the approach of I'm this character, this is how I'm feeling. It shows us that right afterwards. And it's like I'm a much bigger fan of show don't tell. And Avatar didn't do that very well. I know it just got greenlit for season 2 and 3, which makes sense. There's 3 books in the original series. They've still got a lot more story to tell, but if it's in the same structure, I just don't know if I'm going to be on board with it. I don't know if it's going to be for me. That being said, eventually I'll still probably get around to watching it, but I'm not going to rush to see it either. I was very underwhelmed. All right, let's see here. Lone Wolf says, "Well, I'm going to go to bed, bro. See ya. See you at work tomorrow, man." I'll see you. Yeah, I'll see you. Watch your food. Watch your food. Zane Winder says, I think Celtics will lose to Miami in the playoffs again. There's a chance. There's a chance. I don't know. I think Celtics are actually a little stronger this year. But anyways, guys, we've been streaming for over 2 hours. It is almost 11 o'clock Eastern at nighttime. I want to thank you guys so much for sticking around for as long as you have. This has been a great discussion, a great chat overall. Digging into Oscars, the snubs, the predictions, my picks, and all of your wonderful opinions as well. I love being able to talk to you guys and bounce ideas off of you and all this stuff. Live streaming, it's one of my favorite things to do. I'm so glad I'm doing it again. I've really missed these guys. But as I said in the beginning, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, even though I know most of you guys in here right now are already subscribed. You're great supporters. And I just thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it. It's all towards Sunday now. That's all we have left. Let's see how everything wraps up. Oppenheimer sweep. But until next time, guys, thank you so much. I'll see you later. Peace out.